Okay, so can everybody hear me? Cool. So hello and welcome. My name is Maischein, and I'm very happy to tell you today about a module I wrote, Mechanize PhantomJS. Let me first give you a quick overview of the talk structure. First, I want to tell you a bit about my motivation, why I wrote Mechanize PhantomJS. And then we will look at what Mechanize PhantomJS actually is. Then I will tell you a bit about how development of Mechanize PhantomJS went. And we will also look at applications and uses of Mechanize PhantomJS. Who am I? My name, as I already said, is Max Maischein. I work at the DZ Bank in Frankfurt, the Deutsche Zentralgenossenschaftsbank. It's the central bank of the German cooperative banks. And even there I can use not exactly Mechanize PhantomJS, but Mechanize Firefox, the sister module to Mechanize PhantomJS. Yeah, automation is kind of my leitmotif. If I can do it manually, the computer can repeat it, and the computer makes less errors than I make. So yeah, automating things is great for me. And yeah, my tools are obviously Perl for that. And I've done host automation of 30 to 70 terminals and applications running on the host using Perl and Win32 OLE. I've automated websites using Mechanize. I also wrote Mechanize Shell, a module that gives you something like a command line browser where you drive a browser by issuing GET commands or entering data into forms. And yeah, then in 2010 I wrote Mechanize Firefox to automate websites again. And yeah, now I'm presenting Mechanize PhantomJS. So yeah, why am I looking at Mechanize Firefox and Mechanize PhantomJS? Because web applications, I'm not a big friend of them, but they are here to stay. And most web applications build or hold state in the client and do fancy stuff with JavaScript to give the user a better experience or whatever. And JavaScript is not exactly the strong point of Perl. So yeah, there are some modules to do JavaScript with Perl. For example, there is JavaScript SpiderMonkey by Maischein, which embeds, I think, the SpiderMonkey engine by Mozilla. But that module only does JavaScript. It doesn't do the DOM and HTML rendering and requests and everything. There's also JavaScript engine by Sprout. It's a pure Perl implementation of a JavaScript engine, and yeah, it's really slow, and I quickly gave up using that one. So then I had the idea of maybe using Firefox and driving Firefox from Perl, because Firefox is a recognized platform. Even if people don't know me or don't know Perl, I can tell them, your website, it doesn't work in Firefox, and they know what I'm talking about. They don't know that it's not me sitting in front of Firefox, but Perl sitting in front of Firefox. But yeah, that's something they understand. And the great thing about Firefox is, of course, that I can watch the actual state of the web application and the state of my script and what is currently going on. And that's how I arrived at Mechanize Firefox as the first module. But Firefox is not always great, because Firefox really wants a user interface. this is great while developing, not so great in other cases. If you want to run it on a server in the cloud or on a headless server, you need to install a headless X server and then connect by VNC to it or do other weird setup things. So yeah, that's not really the great thing. And also, Mechanize Firefox really wants to use my browser because I'm also using Firefox as my personal browser. And this means that my scripts also get all my client certificates, maybe my cookies, my plugins, and whatever. I don't always want that too. So I found this other great browser, PhantomJS. It's like Firefox, but without a user interface. So this really fits the bill. Except there's a small lie. PhantomJS is not Firefox, but it is WebKit. But I'm not a web designer. I don't care if that div is 1 pixel to the right or doesn't align perfectly with something else on Firefox or WebKit. Yeah, those minor details don't interest me. So yeah, PhantomJS might be just the thing to use for me as a headless browser whenever I don't want to install Firefox in a new profile, in a VM. So yeah, let's take a look at that. The structure is, first we have PhantomJS. It's a separate process that runs. In that PhantomJS process, there is the Ghost driver JavaScript application running. And that Ghost driver application is a Selenium WebDriver server. And I can talk to that using the Selenium remote driver module. And yeah, I wrap that Selenium remote driver module by Mechanize PhantomJS. And then my program uses Mechanize PhantomJS. So it's quite the tower of modules and processes that are talking to each other. So yeah, that's what Mechanize PhantomJS is. An extended interface of the www.mechanize API using PhantomJS as the backend. Are there questions so far? You are? Oh, yeah.
You can run those scripts in pure text mode without having any X server or libraries installed?
Yes, I'll repeat the question. Can I run my scripts on a text mode console without having any X or screen server installed? Yes, that's exactly the problem I'm solving with this, because I want to run it on machines that don't have a graphics card or a monitor connected. Another question, yes?
What are the requirements, the pre-requirements to run it? What modules,
yeah, the question is what the prerequisites of Perl modules are. I will get to that later in the talk.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes?
I'm using this Mechanize Firefox, and I have one issue. When I go to the page second time, it has still stored cookies, maybe from the web page and so on. Do you know how to clear that?
The question is about Mechanize Firefox.
Or is it same in this PhantomJS?
Let me first repeat the question. The question is about Mechanize Firefox, and Firefox remembers cookies from your last visit, and the question is how to clear them, or whether PhantomJS is better at that, and I'll get to that later in the talk. So yeah, how does code look that uses Mechanize PhantomJS? Well, it looks like any code that uses Mechanize, except that it uses Mechanize PhantomJS. You create a new Mech object, then use the get method to get an URL. And yeah, then because you don't see what is happening, there is the content as PNG method, which returns you a PNG that you can save to a file and then look at that PNG to see, yeah, are we in the right place or not? So yeah, what can we do using PhantomJS? Well, it has most of the, or not most, but enough of the normal www Mechanize API. So yeah, get works, you can click on things, you can list all the links and whatever. And yes, in addition, it does JavaScript, which is the main motivation of using some external browser. It also allows you to select items using CSS selectors by virtue of HTML selector XPath. So yeah, you can easily, if you know what element your target is, because it has an ID or a class attribute in the HTML, you can easily get that element and click on it. It also has XPath selectors for retrieving elements, and it also can return you the JavaScript error messages, which I found quite interesting because, yeah, if I'm generating JavaScript from Perl, often I have some syntax error in it, and yeah, I can get these syntax errors directly from PhantomJS without having to start my browser and look into the error console. I've already talked a bit about where I use it, and yeah, you can use Mechanize PhantomJS about anywhere you want to do web automation. You can automate websites with it. I use it for integrate JavaScript tests. And yeah, you also could do weird stuff like validating user input with JavaScript, not only on the client side, but also using the same JavaScript on the server side by running PhantomJS and putting that data into it. And yeah, maybe you can also do really crazy things. There's not really a limit to the crazy things you can do. So, let me show you a first live demo. This, oh yeah, we should first look at the code. Well, the code is not really that long. It creates a new Mechanize object and then loads a local HTML file. And the part I've not shown is that page then gets saved as an image, and that image gets shown. And we see, well, debugging pages with PhantomJS is a bit tedious because you always have to look at a generated image. For example, you can also do easy extraction of some elements by using the selector method in line 9. In this example, I open another local file and then extract all the links that have a .download class and print their inner HTML, which yeah, is just some example text. And it takes always some time until the PhantomJS process has started up, and the laptop is not that fast. But yeah, we see now there is the URL and the text from that link file. So yeah, extracting some links is fairly short code using that. And yeah, the main point is, of course, executing JavaScript. In line 5, there is some JavaScript. Can anybody here guess what the JavaScript might produce? Nobody does. Okay, yeah, and yeah, well, to run that JavaScript, we simply wrap it with the eval in page method and then run it. And yeah, well, it's not really surprising, but it actually works. And so this makes it very easy to execute your own JavaScript in some other page that you maybe did not write. It's very convenient for testing other JavaScript or simply calling the form submit function directly without bothering with the are you really sure you want to do this or other pop-ups. So yeah, my main use of Mechanize PhantomJS is that I have a small chat application that relies heavily on JavaScript, mostly to share videos of funny kittens or other videos. And it uses server-send events to push new chat from Perl to the big JavaScript client that then updates the display, also renders the videos and everything. And yeah, doing manual testing with this is, well, inconvenient. I make a change. Then I have to look at, can I still sign up as a user? Can I still send some chat as a user? And whatever. And the more I can do in an automated test, the better. And yeah, let me start the local instance because I don't trust. Oh, well, maybe. No, we'll stay with the local version. And yeah, it is already running. Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, so it's already running. And let's first, let's reload. And yeah, well, it is a simple chat, except that it also can render YouTube videos and tweets and other stuff. And yeah, for example, if I submit some test messages that should render as video, I can then take a screenshot and compare that screenshot, or simply take the screenshot and look at it, whether it still matches my expectations. There is that screenshot, but I don't have to manually type in the URL or paste it every time from somewhere. I just have to check whether things still are as they should be. Oh yeah, I've also have another demo of using eval in page, because my favorite method of testing my JavaScript is to have some functions in JavaScript, and the HTML elements have on-click handlers that call these functions instead of directly calling form submit. And for testing, I also call these functions directly instead of filling out the form elements. And yeah, doing that is really easy. The eval in page function in line 5 is just passed the JavaScript and the unescaped argument as a separate variable, or the arguments as a list of variables, and then the JavaScript in the browser simply has all those Perl arguments here available in the arguments array. So yeah, I can very conveniently pass data back and forth between PhantomJS and Mechanize or Perl without worrying about string interpolation or other nasty stuff. So, oh yeah, that's here first I set the username in the chat by calling the JavaScript setUsername function, and after setting the username, I then sent a chat line by calling the post chat function also found in the JavaScript. So yeah, if you know the structure of your target page you are automating, it is very easy to bypass all the form fields or buttons to click or whatever you need, as long as the people writing the HTML don't use the Google JavaScript compiler, which changes the names of the functions every time the page is regenerated. But at least for testing your own applications, this is highly convenient to use your JavaScript API directly from Perl. Oh, yeah, a question.
And, this is really nice and related to JavaScript from Perl. How can we hook to JavaScript from the page and process it in Perl?
The question is, how can we hook JavaScript that is running in the browser and call back from JavaScript to Perl? There is no way with PhantomJS to do that. I have a way in Mechanize Mechanize Firefox to also catch events that happen in Firefox and tell Perl about these events, but it is a really nasty, hacky thing. In many situations it works and works well, but there are some situations where it just does not work. And yeah, and the structure of Mechanize of PhantomJS is not as convenient as the structure of Firefox, so I cannot really hook into the browser in PhantomJS in the way that I can hook into Firefox, because Firefox itself is written in large parts in JavaScript, so I can simply replace parts of Firefox with my own JavaScript, and that is not possible with PhantomJS because most of PhantomJS is simply the WebKit thing, which is one large C++ library, and yeah, I cannot easily replace the interesting parts there with my own and send events back to Perl.
When the JavaScript has finished, we can access actually the DOM that is produced by the JavaScript from Perl.
The question is, correct me if I'm wrong, the question is, can we access the DOM of the rendered page after the JavaScript has run? Yes, this is the normal Mechanize content method returns you the content as rendered after the JavaScript has run and modified everything. I can demo that, I think. Yeah. I'll take a tweet. Whoops. And send it to the application, and we will wait some time. And yeah, first, now we see there's just the tweet, but now the web server in the background makes a request to Twitter and fetches a nice rendered version of that tweet, and then sends this back to the browser and renders it more nicely. And this is all done in JavaScript. So if we now visit the page again, we should see a nice rendering of the tweet. No.
Or internet fetch.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not really online with the PC, so yeah, contacting Twitter. Oh well.
Trust you.
Yeah, you have to trust me on this. Another question, yes?
And if there are JavaScript events attached to HTML elements, like on-click event on some link, and you generate that event from Mechanize, like you get the URL and simply call click, is the JavaScript event fired?
The question is if there are JavaScript events attached to elements, for example, an on-click handler on a URL, is that on-click handler fired? Yes. You can, no, I'm not sure. It will always fire if you send a click from Mechanize to that element. The JavaScript will interpret this and do the on-click handler and everything. Yes. Another question, yes?
Yes, the question is when you debug JavaScript applications, you typically insert debugger statement in the code, which will make a breakpoint, and then you see what it is. So it's basically like db single in Perl. It's the same thing in JavaScript, just like say debugger. So can you get this event back because at this point you can probably see what's happening. And I have another question, so I'll ask you. The other question is, the other tool that you, a JavaScript developer uses a lot is the console. So do you get the console back to Mechanize?
The two questions are basically, can you get at the debugger log and can you get at the browser console? And yes, you can get at the browser console. I'm not sure where the debugger log prints its values, but you cannot access the debugger for JavaScript from Mechanize Firefox.
I mean, more like get the event of interruption, because the debugger statement in JavaScript, it interrupts the execution.
Okay, so now I understand it better. Yeah, if you have a breakpoint set in your JavaScript, the page rendering gets stopped, and I don't think you can handle or you don't get notification from PhantomJS that a breakpoint has been hit. So, I have never done it, so it might be possible, but it is not supported by the module yet because there is no code for it.
PhantomJS, but also sets a timeout, internal timeout. So if you break the execution, you basically get a timeout like this, because it will expect that get finishes in somewhere.
Yeah, it's handled at all, because obviously in Firefox and in Chrome there is some subsystem that handles this debugger break statement, and you can do stuff with the code.
It probably will be handled and supported, but there is some consequences with this stuff.
Yeah, well, I have never really used that single-step statement in JavaScript, so I don't know. Yeah, because PhantomJS is basically WebKit, it can also render HTML as PDF, which is quite nice if you have a nice HTML page and the customer says, yeah, great, now just do that as PDF. You don't need a separate template or generate RTF and then print it to PDF or whatever. You can abuse PhantomJS to generate PDFs. And yeah, I should explain the render content method is what can render the current page as PNG or also render it as PDF. So yeah, if you need to quickly generate a lot of PDFs, maybe PhantomJS is a good approach for that. And there's actually a nice thing about WebKit. It creates a proper PDF that has selectable text in it. So people who receive the PDF can actually do something with it. It's not just an image wrapped in a PDF header. So yeah, I can actually select the text that is shown on the page. So yeah, people get what they expect when they say they want a PDF. Another question, yes?
A lot of websites these days have mobile-first CSS templates.
Yeah.
Can you set the why you can test all these different kind of...
Yes, you can configure PhantomJS from Perl to be like 1024 wide or 640 pixels wide. Yeah, there are some limitations, but I'll get to them when I talk about the problems of PhantomJS. Yeah, you had the question about what you need to run this. Well, first of all, you need the PhantomJS browser. You can download it on Windows. It's a single executable file, and I assume that on Linux your package manager also has a PhantomJS package available. And you also need the Ghost driver package, which is included with the module already because it needs some patches. But yeah, if you install Mechanize PhantomJS, you get the correct version of Ghost driver already included. For all platforms, because, well, I develop on Windows, but I want to deploy on Linux, so yeah. Yeah, and modules, you need www.mechanize, and you need Selenium driver remote. And yeah, there might be some other modules. I would have to look at the makefile.pl, which lists all prerequisites. But yeah, if we have time in the end, we can look at the exact list. So yeah, there are some parts that are missing in Mechanize PhantomJS. The Mechanize API is not yet complete. For example, the post method is missing. That's surprisingly, it wasn't. I did not miss it that much, but yeah, Selenium does not want a post function, so I have to find a way around that. And also, you cannot really change the user agent of the Mechanize object or of PhantomJS because PhantomJS says I'm WebKit, and yeah, well, it's not that easy to fake a different user agent. Yeah, also we need some, or I haven't come up with a good idea for API extensions. I'll talk about that. And there's also some documentation still missing for the module. Yeah, I've already said it. The post function is not implemented yet. Selenium says they are a framework for emulating a user. And if you are a user in front of a browser, you cannot do a post request. You can click on the submit button for a form that then issues a post request, but you cannot create your own post request by hand. So that's why Selenium says, no, we will not implement post. I think my workaround will be to inject some JavaScript, which creates a fake form, puts in the post values, and then submits that form. So I can then fake the post request, but the problem is, how do I get the result of that post request back into Perl space? Because I've now gone around Selenium. And I need to get the data back also around Selenium. So yeah, I haven't found a good way. And also, for example, custom HTTP headers are simply not possible because PhantomJS does not allow adding additional HTTP headers to the requests it makes. Yeah, most of the implementation was need-driven. Whenever I needed a function, I implemented it. So I implemented the easy functions first, and Selenium was quite helpful in that. As I already said, Selenium does not like post parameters. Yeah, I was surprised. I actually didn't need the post function myself yet, because in most cases there was a button I could click instead. So yeah, it was a bit more work for me to find the correct button or to find the function that is called in the on-click handler of the form. But yeah, it was manageable. Yeah, there are some API extensions to the Mechanize API that I haven't come up with a good solution for yet. For example, PhantomJS supports multiple windows. But yeah, a Mechanize object is basically a single window. So I haven't found a good abstraction or a good API yet how to deal with 2 or more windows. Do I use the same Mechanize object? Do I return fresh Mechanize objects for every window? Also, frames are not well supported because Selenium does not really support frames in a good way. You can go downwards to a specific frame, but once you are in that frame, you cannot go to any outside frame again. So yeah, basically I solved the issue by saying that frames are not supported. Well, frames are supported, but retrieving content from frames or clicking a button in a frame, it works. But after that, you have to reload the complete page because you cannot get out of that frame in Selenium anymore. Also, I still don't have a good idea how to handle events on the browser side, like if the web page pops up an alert box. PhantomJS can tell me about that alert box, but I don't know, should the user maybe specify a callback that then gets called when the alert box pops up? Or should the Mechanize programmer write Mechanize check for alert box to actively look whether there has been a pop-up? I'm not sure. Both approaches seem nice, but I also see lots of usability problems because if you specify the callback at the top of the program where you create the new Mechanize object, yeah, well, the error pop-up maybe comes after 10 steps in your script. So yeah, I don't have a good idea for that yet. Also, file downloads, I didn't need them yet, so they are not implemented. Yeah, like I already said, there is no idea of events yet and how to handle them. Or maybe a list of things or events that happened since you last asked for events that might have happened. I'm not sure. If anybody has ideas or advice, I'm open to it. Yeah, also missing documentation. I already have a lot of documentation simply by doing cut and paste from Mechanize Firefox to Mechanize PhantomJS, because I try to make most functions similar. But what is still missing are the frequently asked questions I have for Firefox, but people ask different questions about PhantomJS, and I try to add those to the documentation. The module is very young. So yeah, These are not yet there. And I also plan on having more extensive troubleshooting instructions, like how to install PhantomJS. And my script hangs, or PhantomJS hangs. How can I find out what went wrong? Yeah. And yeah, things I might want to add in the future is maybe any event support, because it is talking via TCP to PhantomJS anyway, so supporting any event might be nice, but this then means restructuring everything to accept callbacks, and yeah, callback hell is also not that great. Yeah, I really want to get away from Selenium, because Selenium is not, well, in the beginning it's very usable, but once I really want to do browser automation, Selenium is not a good choice. So yeah, I want to replace it and talk more directly to PhantomJS. Yeah, there was the question about things you can do in Firefox and things you can't do or can do in PhantomJS. Well, first of all, PhantomJS does not need a display. Firefox needs a display. Cookies are not persistent in PhantomJS. After the PhantomJS process exits, everything is gone. Just a moment. And in Firefox, they persist in the process and also maybe on disk, depending on the settings. Yes?
Can you have two instances of PhantomJS Mechanize object to share the cookie jar?
The question is whether one can have two instances of a Mechanize PhantomJS object share the same cookie jar of one PhantomJS process. I don't know, because I don't think you can connect two Mechanize objects to the same PhantomJS browser. That's not possible. Or I haven't tried it and I don't think it will work. So my answer is no.
So what is your suggested way to go around this Firefox problem, other than killing the process and deleting the
my suggested process for Firefox is to use a separate profile. Then you get a separate private profile list. Yes, if you have that or need that many different things, you have 100 profiles, that's bad. But you can also, from your program, delete a cookie. That's the other approach. Or you have a specially configured Firefox in privacy mode or something, where it only accepts cookies for the session, and then you shut down and restart the process. Yeah, there is, or I don't know of an easy solution. Well, yeah, custom certificates are easy in PhantomJS. You can just specify, this is my CA file, use it. With Firefox, using custom certificates is hard, because you have to manually install them, and if you generate a new certificate for your test, you have to first manually install that and then access or then run your test stuff. Yeah, as I already said, dialogues and alert stuff is possible in PhantomJS. When I wrote Firefox, I thought it would be easy, because Firefox is so much written in JavaScript, but I did not find a way to replace the Firefox dialogues with my own JavaScript to make the dialogues go away. So yeah, now there would be some ranting by me about the good things, the bad things when developing for two browsers in parallel. Yeah, let's see if there are good things to mention. Yeah, well, the nice thing was I had written Mechanize Firefox before, so I basically knew what to do with PhantomJS. And one thing I cannot stress enough is to use socket communication between your processors. For Firefox, I had long toyed with the idea of well, not simply, but of using the Gecko rendering engine as XS module and directly embed a browser in my Perl process. But then I upgraded my Perl from a 32-bit version to a 64-bit version. And that would have broken my module because at the time there was no 64-bit ready version of the Firefox rendering engine. So yeah, using TCP as communication between two processes saved me from that. And at first I didn't even think about the problem. And yeah, that would have left me in a bad space. So yeah, I've already ranted enough about Selenium. And one thing is I did not speak yet with the Ghost Driver developers about my patches to their code. So I think I should do that so that my patches also go upstream. Or maybe they tell me, no, we don't want to support anything other than Selenium. But yeah, well. Yeah, the ugly thing when I reused my Firefox test suite for PhantomJS because, well, I had lots of tests for Firefox. And yeah, if these tests pass, well, many things already work. Except that many of my tests relied on internals of Firefox. They know, yeah, I get this object back. It's an object that lives in Firefox. And I can get at this attribute, and this attribute needs to have that value. Except that the objects I return for PhantomJS are different, and you need to call a method on them. So yeah, that broke some tests. And also, at least 3 or 4 times, a test passed on the first attempt. And then I found out that I called the Firefox test instead of using the PhantomJS test. So yeah. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, all the code should soonish be on CPAN. And the talk slides will be online. I'll add the link to the ACT. So thank you.
Any questions?
Todd? Oh, sorry.
So this might be asking you to restate, but are there cases where Selenium is more appropriate than this? Or once you're fully complete with this module, do you believe it's a potential replacement for the majority of what Selenium does?
It depends on whether, I mean, Selenium is not only, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I look at it as a case of I want to use Mechanize, and I have tools for Mechanize. But Selenium also has great editors for interactively building a Selenium test script where you click on a web page and it generates a sequence of Selenium test statements. So I think it's a different infrastructure question. I only use Selenium because it gives me easy access to PhantomJS, and I don't know enough about the other use cases except that with Selenium you can easily use several browsers like Internet Explorer and Firefox and Safari. That's not my use case. I don't care about whether the page renders nicely in landscape or whatever. So
one of the add-ons to this that would be next if you did want to do a Selenium replacement would be to write something that could parse Selenium tests and use this as the back end instead of Selenium.
I don't use Selenium.
No, this is...
yeah, if you want to replace Selenium, yes, then... then yes, one would write something to run the Selenium tests or compile the Selenium tests into Mechanize Perl code. Yeah. Yeah, one more.
Yes. It's only half a question. Because, well, we're running a Catalyst website, which we actually enjoy having type in make tests, and it works and passes all our own tests using VV Mechanize Catalyst. And the Catalyst forks a Catalyst process, makes local requests, and then it says, yes, it works as expected. I just, like a week ago, made a Catalyst PhantomJS Mechanize, and it also works now with JavaScript. We also type make tests, all the JavaScript passes along, which is like excellent. But however, you're using Dancer, and I believe this is the first model I wrote for that encapsulated testing. Do you have a view or preferred view, or how do you use that make test with Dancer? Right? I don't know. What's your view on how to incorporate it, the model, if you have it? I don't know.
Yeah, I usually fire up an HTTP process for every test that runs, or for every test script that runs. Yeah, and then do real HTTP requests against that. This has the problem that firing up the server is a bottleneck because it's slow, especially if you have like, I don't know, maybe 20, 40, or 100 test files. You start up and tear down the server and the browser 100 times. So yeah, but I haven't found a way yet that is easy enough for me. When I write the test script, I don't want to fight all the infrastructure problems. I want to write a test that actually tests what I want to test. And yeah, using some kind of wrapper that first starts up one HTTP process, then runs all the tests, and at the end tears down the HTTP request, the HTTP server. It's great as long as it works, but there have been too many times where I modified my code, but the framework did not tear down the HTTP server correctly. So I was then confused because my tests ran against old code while I had already written new code, and that was too confusing and cost me too much time. And so yeah, I don't have a good solution for that. Okay, thank you, and feel free to contact me after the talk.
We have an announcement to make. Who's Nicholas? Oh.
Right, there's a schedule change, there's a room swap. The second talk this afternoon, the one after the lunch break, and my laptop's just locked, so anyway, Sawyer X, Joy of Profit, whatever, that talk is now in this room, and the other talk, Simper, a mailing list manager, is now in the room below. Those two talks have swapped, because we expect Sawyer X's talk to be more popular. That is all. So, second talk after lunch. Please go enjoy lunch.